Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming to give us the opportunity to update you on the recovery activities following the incident with Hurricane Sandy. We've had a state and local combined effort in addressing this, which has involved executive and legislative support. So I'd like to just introduce the members of our city team, state legislative team, who've come together to address the situation. We have Senator Ron Rice with us, Senator Teresa Ruiz. We have Assemblyman Alberto Coutinho with us. From our municipal council, from the North Ward, we have Councilman Aníbal Ramos. The South Ward, we have Councilman Ross Baraka. We have West Ward Councilman Ron Rice, at-large Councilman Luis Quintana, at-large Councilman Carlos Gonzalez. Did I miss any council members? Central Ward Councilman Darren Sharif. Okay. With regard to our city team, we have our police director, Samuel DeMeo, our fire director, Fatin Ziad, our police chief, Sheila Coley, our fire chief, John Centeni, deputy mayors Margarita Muniz and Adam Zipkin are here, child and family well-being director, Latanya Williamson, deputy director of neighborhood services, Amos Crudup. From the Red Cross, our partner, we have Jocelyn Gilman. Miss anyone else? Right, at this time, I'll bring up, for traffic and signals engineering department, we have Jack Natta, OEM coordinator, Keith Isaac. And at this time, we'll bring up our mayor to bring a status on our recovery efforts.
I just want to reiterate what our business administrator said. This has been an extraordinary, extreme and extraordinary, in the best sense of the word, amount of cooperation, partnerships extending from grassroots leaders all the way up, quite frankly, to the White House. We have been coordinating activities, resources. The level of cooperation has been extraordinary, and I'm very grateful. The people you see standing behind me are some of the principal leaders, but there's literally been thousands of people around the city of Newark and involved with the city of Newark every single day, from our Port Authority partners to our hospital partners, and again to the amazing community activists I've seen out there rendering incredible service. Actually, today's focus is a quick update on the recovery effort, but really we're still in a state of emergency, and there are still some very significant concerns that I want to go through. And so very briefly on the update of the recovery, we right now in the city of Newark, the biggest issue, pressing issue for us, central to what we're working to do, is to get power restored and deal with the challenges of having power out. We still have over half of our city now without power, causing extreme challenges all over the city of Newark. In response to that, number one, we're working in every way possible, hand in hand with PSE&G. We recognize that between PSE&G customers and the other utilities in the state, there's well over 2 million people in the state of New Jersey who've experienced time without power. There are other cities that even surround us where the entire towns are without power, and we're appreciating a lot of the work that's going on here to get critical institutions like our hospitals, our fire departments, and our firehouses and others back up. But there still is a great urgency. PSE&G has given us some specific information that I'd like to relay for those of you who are viewing right now. And if you'd like to think of it as sort of three areas of our city. Right now, for the customers in Newark, in the East and the North Ward who have no power, they're being serviced by the Essex switching station, which was one of the stations that services Newark that had the most extreme damage. We actually had to do an aquatic rescue there to get PSE&G workers out into safety during the storm. That switching station has now gone under serious work. We're working to restore it, and PSE&G has given us a specific estimate of 1 to 2 days until that is operational, and customers who are now without power in the North and the East wards should see power coming back on then. However, there are still people in the North Ward and the East Ward that have significant damage to poles and wires around them. And that means while the majority of people in those areas will see their powers restored, there will still be work to do on the ground. And much of that work is being done as we speak and could last from being repaired today to at least 5 days. To customers generally in the central and south wards of our city, the switching stations that control power to your areas actually have been fixed. And right now, the challenge is getting poles and wires fixed. As we saw yesterday, many people were starting to come on. As of yesterday, I got hallelujah text messages and tweets throughout the night of people as they were coming on. And so people who are without power in our South Ward and most areas in our Central Ward should understand that your power will be coming on from any time to in the next hour to, unfortunately, some people, depending on the extent of the damage in your immediate neighborhood, it could be up to 3, 4, or even 5 days on worst case scenario. The one area, unfortunately, PSE&G has not been able to give us specific detailed information yet. We'll get an update later, is in the West Ward area. Those people who live in Ivy Hill, Vailsburg areas of our city are still large swaths of those areas are without power, and we're awaiting an update to understand the extent and the nature of the repairs that need to be done. But we're still giving the general estimate of 1 to 5 days for those people in the West Ward, but we will have more information there. As a result of the power outages, many of our residents are finding themselves in extreme, if not emergency situations. We have many residents, as do all cities and neighborhoods, who are dependent upon medicines that need to be refrigerated, who are dependent upon special dietary requirements that need to be refrigerated, and also have medical apparatuses that are run by electricity. And so we understand that this is a crisis, if not life-endangering reality that we're experiencing right now. In addition to that, we do have many high-rises that are without power, therefore have no elevator service, and therefore having people on the higher floors who are disabled, who are being trapped within their homes, and now going on 2-3 days with limited supplies, no refrigeration. We have people that have young children, newborns and others, that find themselves with those kids in vulnerable situations. Please understand that up until today, we didn't even have bus service. So many of our residents could not go to a local bodega that may have been closed to get food, and found it very difficult to get some of the critical supplies they need that many of us take for granted who are in areas that have power. This is our immediate concern. And we are doing everything we can possible to meet the needs of every population in our city that might find themselves at risk. Behind me are people that are doing really heroic things in trying to pull down resources, get them to our senior buildings, find generators to run those senior buildings, help to prepare meals. We still have our central shelter that is still running and has people not only coming there overnight, but we also are serving hot meals from there. We've set up staging areas in a number of other places within our city in which we have food being delivered to different people. We have individuals from residents themselves up to our officials who are putting things in their car and driving diapers and other services to folks. This is an all-out operation right now to ensure that in Newark, New Jersey, we do not have any post-storm fatalities or tragedies. We are working very hard to avoid post-storm fatalities or tragedies. And on that note, there's some things we want to emphasize with the public. The first and foremost is to use our non-emergency hotline number. Should you find yourself without the supplies you need, the resources you need, should you anticipate trouble could come if you don't get those things, you should be alerting us through 973-733-4311. I want to repeat that, 973-733-4311. But hand in hand with that goes, and I was late at night talking to somebody struggling with diabetes last night and starting to feel the symptoms. I would like for everyone to err on the side of calling 911 should you feel an urgent emergency coming on, especially one that is health related. If you fail to call 911 an emergency, you might find yourself unable to do so. And so even if you are not at a point where it is an emergency, but you feel health conditions worsening, please call 911. It is very important that our residents access those services. We have our EMT service is at full capacity and ready to service you should you have that need. The second point of emphasis involves the tragedies we've had in our city and loss of life. As we've reported already, during the storm, we had an incident in which someone drowned at a facility that we tried to evacuate on at least 2 occasions. But now in the after-storm period, we unfortunately, tragically, had 2 individuals who passed away, an 18-year-old and a 19-year-old young ladies. We mourn their loss. This was tragic and entirely preventable. It was a carbon monoxide poisoning situation involving a generator. And this is the point I want to make very, very clear. We are operating now in a time where people do not have power. They're beginning to use candles, to use generators. I have myself gone to numerous homes over the last 24 and 48 hours where people are using their stoves, with pots on their stoves, to heat their homes. This is extraordinarily dangerous. I met with EMT representatives this morning, and they have had to do numerous calls to rescue people who are starting to show the symptoms of carbon monoxide poisoning. They have been because of generators, which even if placed outside, if they're placed too close to a door, the way it works is if your home is warm and the outside is cold, you produce a vacuum that sucks that carbon monoxide into your home. And you may not smell it, you may not realize it, and over time that exposure could create a critical tragic loss of life. In addition, though, what we're knowing now from our EMTs is that when they show up to places that have been running their ovens, their stoves, for long periods of time, for 10 hours, 15 hours, around the clock, the people are starting to get carbon monoxide poisoning and show the symptoms of that distress. So please, this is a dangerous, dangerous moment. That people are now trying to compensate for the lack of power by utilizing means that are going to endanger their families. Do not do this. If you are at a house that is uninhabitable because of its cold or because of lack of power, it is better for you to leave your home and stay with family or friends or come into our shelter than to use these makeshift means, especially stoves and open flames, in order to heat your home and provide any kind of power. This is not only a problem with carbon monoxide poisoning, but as our fire department has been emphasizing over and over again, it creates serious risk of fires. In addition to that, I want to make clear during this time that we still have open hazards in our roads. There are still power lines down. There are still traffic lights that are not working. We've had some motor vehicle accidents in our city, and we want to minimize and eliminate those from happening completely. So if you are on the roads, you must abide by all of the traffic laws, and you must use extreme caution as people might be leaving sidewalks to avoid hazards and the like. Signs may be down, stop signs may be down. If you're coming to intersections, if it has a stoplight that's not functioning, the law is you must come to a complete stop and treat it like there is a stop sign there. So please, if you're driving, use extreme caution. We've been asked by numerous of our partnering agencies to continue to emphasize to people to stay off the roads. If you do not need to go out, whether you're a pedestrian, a bicyclist, or in a motor vehicle, don't go out. We've been asked by the Port Authority to emphasize to people the difficulties even of going into Manhattan. There are 3, 4, 5-hour waits during rush hour. This morning was an ugly mess, and there are restrictions going into the Lincoln Tunnel where you must have 3 people in your car. So please understand, we are still at a state of emergency. It is still dangerous. We're still asking people to stay off of the roads. In addition to that, though, as you are out and about, if you must, and you see hazards, while we're doing a great job going out there cleaning them up, don't just see it and walk by it. Take the time to make the phone call to 973-733-4311 so we can take note of that wire, of that sign that's down, or that tree that's down, so we can take note of it and address it ourselves. Your failure to report a down wire could be someone else's tragedy. So please let us know about those things. Many people are asking us about how they can help. I appreciate the incredible outpouring of concern and a willingness to serve during this time of crisis. We're asking to direct those people to our 973-733-4311. We're setting up a system in which we can engage people who might want to commit resources or commit other kind of assistance during these very, very difficult times. But again, as I conclude and open for questions, the principal concern of our city right now is the safety and security of our residents. This is the number one priority of everyone who is standing with me today. We are still in a state of emergency. There still are challenges. We are going to be relying on the proactive, common sense commitment of our residents to pull together and get through this. Please understand that the dangers exist right now. Many of them are dangers that we create for ourselves, and we must use prudence and common sense during these very challenging times. I want to open up the questions should any of the media that's here has them. If not, we'll be continuing to give updates through the day.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. As you know, Election Day is Tuesday, and I'm wondering if you think there will be a full election in Newark, and if there's any worries about disenfranchisement because people just won't be able to get to the polls because polling stations won't be able to be set up.
You know, I've started to have some preliminary conversations around this issue. The one thing I want to make clear is that our focus right now is securing and saving lives, and that's where all of our resources are focused. Obviously, we do have a very important election in our state. It's not just a presidential election in the state of New Jersey. Here in Essex County, for example, there are other positions from our Senator Menendez on down. There's important ballot questions on this, including a ballot question involving capital commitments to our universities that are very important for all Newark residents. And so we believe that we can address those concerns, not today on Thursday, but as we head into tomorrow and the weekend, we'll be working with county and election officials to make sure that we make contingency plans should election sites have to be moved. I have a lot of faith in the power of this democracy, the resiliency of our communities, that when election day comes, we will make a way for people to vote, and we'll make that information very clear to people using all of our means. And so we have no plans to report regarding that. The focus of this team standing before you right now is the safety and the security of residents. We take that very seriously. We're still in a state of emergency. There are still people in crisis, still people at risk, and that's where our focus will remain for the next 24 hours or more. Yes.
What's the public safety situation for people without any power? You know, like there's been reports of looting in other parts of the state or in New York where people have been taking advantage of, you know, people not being at their homes and, you know, no power.
No, first of all, and I should have expressed this on the top, you know, Newark, as we are dealing with the challenges of this emergency, we're very aware of what's going on around us in the state of New Jersey, in this region. And everybody, from my fellow elected officials here to staff, we all express our concern and our compassion and our prayers for people who are for communities that are going through much more difficult times than ours. And I should have said that at the top of this press conference. Secondly to that, we are aware that there have been incidents before, but I'm happy to report that we're not seeing any of that behavior here. No crimes really of opportunity. We've had starting to tick up in our first 24 hours or so. We virtually had no crime in the city. Now, unfortunately, we've seen some crimes take place, but they're not storm related. We don't view them that way. There's absolutely no looting going on in the city of Newark. In fact, it's been remarkable to see the citizen action going on in helping to keep residents safe and secure. So that does not mean, however, that we're not being vigilant in every way imaginable. We have many, many more police on duty now than we would regularly have on a November 1st. In addition to that, we have other assets that have stepped up themselves. I want to mention County Executive Joseph DiVincenzo specifically because he continues to be a tremendous partner. Sheriff Armando Fantura a tremendous partner. These gentlemen are making lots of assets available for us here in the city of Newark for public safety. I want to mention our governor and our attorney general, who both have reached out to me personally around this issue. They are taking their law enforcement and security of our city very seriously and have made assets available that we have not had to draw down upon at all at this time. But we know they're there if we need them. We are in partnership with Rutgers Police, NJIT Police, other university police officials, Port Authority Police. I was involved in in the early days at a site where they were taking an action in support of our city. So anybody who might be considering it, this is the worst time to do it, not just on a moral issue, but the fact is you're going to get caught. And we had a normal break-in recently of a Chinese store, which I've now learned that Chinese restaurants and chicken shacks are the most enduring, resilient businesses in the United States of America, because I think most of them stayed open during the storm itself. I made a joke with my staff that if the nuclear apocalypse happens and ends life as we know it, there will be roaches and chicken shacks open around the United States of America. So we had an incident with a Chinese store where a robbery was taking place. Our police officers were on the scene, gave chase, and captured the individuals responsible. So if you want more details on that specific incident, you can talk to Director DeMeo afterwards. But I was out there the last number of nights. I've been out there till the early hours of the morning, driving around, trying to engage residents and bring resources. And everywhere I turn, we're seeing police out there with great coverage. And not only are there police, but there's lots of other eyes of emergency personnel, from firefighters, EMT. The eyes of even our PSE&G folks have been pretty good in partnering with us. So we're very fortunate here in Newark. We have not seen what's been going on across the river in New York, nor in some other areas, but we're not taking anything for granted. Our upped police presence will continue indefinitely, and I'm very grateful for the service of our officers. Yes.
Mayor, can we get an update on how many people have gone to JFK Rec Center for shelter?
So the maximum capacity there at any one time has been about 147. But there have been every day, some people come and don't return. Some people go and don't return, and new people show up. So we'll be able to give you at some point a total estimate of people that have utilized shelters. I should have emphasized this earlier. Our shelters are not only places to go and sleep, but they're places to go and eat. And if somebody just wants a hot meal, and Director Latanya can give other sites that we have that are feeding sites. But our JFK Rec Center is a place for people, if you just want to show up at a mealtime and get a hot meal, please utilize that as well. And we've had some people that have taken advantage of that opportunity. Do we have other feeding sites established at this point? Not currently established. We ran some last night out of Westside High School and some other sites. And that's actually a very big concern of ours, is preparing food and delivering food to families, not just the senior high-rises, which again, tremendous. Our city council people have been really amazing. All 9 of them have been, they have systems of communication in the communities. It's extraordinary, the leadership that our city council has done. I mean, the stories make me chuckle, just because when I see city council people going in their own pockets, buying pizza. I think Louis Quintana, some of the best meals I think in the city were served by Councilman Quintana, Councilman Ramos and Councilman Gonzalez, who've been supplying food. But I think that Louis trying to one-up them with rice and beans. My house has no food. I hope he'll stop by there. But extraordinary. Councilman Sharif, Councilman Barak. I kept bumping into Mildred. I was wondering if there's 2 or 3 Mildred Crumps around the city. I really actually think there are now, that we actually has. She's triplets or quintuplets. She might be a child of an octomom. So it's just extraordinary to see the leadership of the city council. Some of them, I'm not sure if they're sleeping, which I hope that they maybe go sleep after this crisis. Maybe they'll go to sleep and save me some hassles in the future. But it's pretty extraordinary. And then I want to also just point out that that Senator Ruiz, Senator Sharif, and Senator Rice. Excuse me. I'm going to hear it on that one. I need to sleep. Senator Rice. These guys they're at their best. Our leadership, our elected leadership is at their best. Albert Coutinho is just been a soldier. He's going to be dubbed the Stormtrooper. And if I get another text message from him in the middle of the night, I wish he would get a personal life. So this is an amazing group of leaders here that are doing extraordinary things to help feed our community, to help service our community, and I'm just incredibly pleased by the response. But that does not mean there's still not urgencies. I'm still finding out through various means about families who are out there in need and don't have ways of communicating that, or somehow are not hearing it. This is why one of the most important first responders in New Jersey right now, I want to be clear, is the media. And the more you can let that be known, that we have these resources available. I was in my office before I came down here, and an 11-year-old sent me a tweet about having asthma, having her mother not able to provide, that they didn't have food in the house. So we're looking for any means of identifying people, not just at our shelter, but again, you have 9 council people, you have legislators who are all going in their own pocket, doing whatever they can to meet the urgent needs. I was joking a little bit before, but I'm in awe of the legislative leadership on the city level and on the state level. You know, they're extraordinary leaders, and I just again want to thank the staff on the administrative side for what they're doing. And I didn't know you were here, Louis. Can you make one of your stops my apartment tonight? Yes. But I definitely want to, of course, a great BA as well. We're going to go in the back, and then we're going to come up front to Barry.
Well, first, thanks for the shout out to the media.
Yeah.
For the
You're
stuff
welcome.
that we're doing.
Enjoy it while it lasts. Because when we get back
It's over next week.
Yes, exactly. When we go back to normal.
You just mentioned you're getting tweets from people. Yourself, the governor, the president are all on Twitter and other social networks. Is this still an effective way, or is this an effective way of getting information out and for people to get stuff on shelters and food that's available and stuff?
It is one tool in a toolbox. It's just one tool in a toolbox. And so we need every means of getting out the word, from traditional media, from driving around our own neighborhoods. I'm sure the council people here have had the same experience with me as I drive around, people literally stopping my car and telling me about situations. But social media more and more is becoming a means of communications. I went to one site where there was, last night actually I was doing the end of my night, last night was making diaper runs, food runs for people that needed help. And there was somebody from Virginia that told me about a family on Chadwick Avenue that needed some support, and I was able to find out about it because they couldn't communicate out, and I got the word from them from a person in Virginia who sent me a tweet and was able to get some supports to them. So it's one tool in a vast toolbox. We need to utilize every single one of them, but obviously we're in a modern era, and Facebook and Twitter from Middle East to crises and we saw in places like Haiti, it's a powerful tool for mobilizing, organizing, and communicating, and we're using all those tools ourselves. Yes, Barry.
Any word on schools?
This has been a daily evaluation. I have a superintendent who is analyzing every detail and weighing them, and we're making decisions on a day-by-day basis. I was just with her moments ago, and she should be making a decision imminently on tomorrow. I don't think it's likely. I really don't think it's likely that we're going to have school tomorrow, and I think it's going to take a lot of our assets, police, fire, neighborhood services, engineering, to prepare the city for Monday. But again, it's a superintendent's call, as well as for many of the charter school operators, private school operators, colleges and universities. They all have to make their independent calls. We're trying to funnel that all through the command center here so we can push that information out as soon as we get it.
Is it power with the schools, or is it that some of them are damaged?
We have school buildings with some minor damage. We have school buildings, a significant number of our school buildings have power issues. And then remember, it's not just the schools themselves. It's pathways to the schools. It's making sure the bus companies can gas up, can pick up people. So there's a lot of issues surrounding a decision like that. And right now, there's still a whole bunch more mountain to climb before our city can get back to some kind of normalcy. And so our first priority with making these decisions is not logistics, it's the safety of the children in these environments. Secondarily, it's those other concerns. But remember, a lot of parents are trying to get back to normalcy too, and that's very important. And again, you miss a week of instruction time. It's not just about making it up. It so disrupts the learning process. And I know Councilman Baraka can probably express this more than I can. But you have kids that sort of will fall back more because they haven't had that continuity of instruction. People often say during the summer times we lose a lot of learning. Well, to have a full week out from school has a big impact. So we're weighing all those things. We'll have a decision very, very soon. One more follow-up, and then we'll go back to this gentleman. I don't really recognize him, but we'll go there.
Can you give us an update on situation with hospitals? Are they
on
power or still back to
So
generators?
the best news I can give you right now is that Beth Israel is back on the grid, and obviously they were running off of power of a generator. Clara Moss, all of our other hospitals are up to capacity and able to service people. Nobody should worry about that. And again, I made very clear earlier that if there is any inkling of having a medical issue, our ambulances are ready. We were talking about fuel again early this morning. They're fueled up. They're actually not running it. They have more supply than demand. Often you see, and I've seen this even for police services, in non-storm times, the queue, what we call the line of police calls, gets backed up. Even ambulances sometimes can get backed up. Right now, because of the extra assets we've put out there, we're having moments where we have nothing in the queue, and with police officers who are all doing proactive work. It's the same with EMT and ambulances. So what I'm really asking people to do is err on the side, especially for medical issues or conditions, to err on the side of calling for help. And everybody who stands behind me right now, and in particular the elected representatives, we all know we've been in crises in this city. We've now all fought together for many years, where we've seen people who died of heat exhaustion. We've seen people who have died from other types of exposure, where vigilant calling for help could have prevented those problems. And this is where I see the best of our city, because folks are checking in on seniors, folks are checking in on elderly. Again, I had an incident last night where we helped get a woman into an ambulance whose son had reached out to us. And those are the kind of things that we need as the vigilance of our community. But I do not and will not accept any more loss of life in our city as related to this storm. I will not accept that. And we can prevent that from happening as we go forward.
Good afternoon, Mayor. You mentioned normalcy among the kids. Mayor Bloomberg said that as of today, it's time for New Yorkers to get back to work in spite of the ongoing recovery efforts, the restoration efforts. When should Newark get back to work? Should that be happening now as well?
No, I'm not gonna use this idea that this is a time for Newarkers to get back to normalcy. The reality is we're in a state. I still see our city as in a state of emergency, and what we need is vigilance, hyper caution, a concern for others, and frankly, those people who are able to stay home. If you have power in your house and your fridge is running and you don't need to be out and about, stay home. And in my opinion, I'm telling my New Jerseyans, after what we saw happen at the Lincoln Tunnel today, and the mess that was there, if you don't have to go into New York and get in your car, stay home. The police director made this observation to me. He goes, Corey, just to get on a bus in some places, it took up to 3 or 4 hours. Then it would take another 2-3 hours to get through the tunnel. I mean, your workday is gone by the time you even get into Manhattan. So tomorrow, I'm telling my residents, call your employers. My residents are having trouble getting access to gasoline. My residents are having trouble getting access to arteries into the city. My residents are still dealing with road blockages, trees leaning on houses. Half of my residents still don't have power. Children are not going back to school. So there is no normalcy here. We have serious problems. We are in a state of emergency. There are still life-threatening challenges facing the city of Newark. And so what I really need is the fortitude of my residents, the concern and compassion for neighbors, a willingness to work with us and pull together to get through this crisis. We should be helping folks. Heck, if you can take a day off and you got power and you are able to get around, do something for somebody else. You know, one of my dear neighbors on Homestead, I was a little called me out today, and so I opened up my house and said, if my folks on Homestead Court, you know, charity, love starts at home. Come stay in my house. And so that's what I need right now from people is to recognize the challenges of the time and act accordingly, with prudence, with caution, and most of all with love and compassion for your neighbors. And last night, and even this morning, I was up at St. Mary's. A woman named Miss Perkins, her father was a deputy mayor for Hugh Adenizio. She's in there using her own money to cook grits and toast and anything she can for seniors because the elevators weren't working to get up. I look at this woman, she's a hero in our city right now. And she's doing the best thing we could do to help other people. And so that's what I need from folks right now. There's no normalcy right now. It's going to take some time for us to get back to normalcy. What we need to understand is that there are still lives at risk. There are still people who are going through very, very difficult times. And we need compassion, concern, and a willingness to accommodate the challenges we have in the city.
Quick, specific follow-up. It seems like gas station after gas station, the signs are out, no gas. The lines were yesterday. Now they're run dry. For anybody who needs gas, whether it's for critically getting around town or for generators, what's a source they can go to get info about where they can find it?
Okay, well, I thought you were going to say where could they go for gas. If I had that solution, I'd be the most popular guy in Newark and could assure a potential reelection with that valuable information. So we have a gas crisis. I haven't seen lines like these since I was 2, 3, 4 years old back in the 1970s. And first of all, I will not tolerate from anybody conflicts and fights at gas pumps. There's been minor altercations, nothing even worth reporting, but this is what I go back to, that spirit of compassion and neighborliness. Information about where that's available, unless I can tell you otherwise, the best thing to do, any of that information is funneled to one source of information in this city, is 973-733-4311. So if any of us back here have ideas or knowledge, that's where it's going to go, our main point of information. I got nothing for you right now. This I will tell you, the concern for this group of people was fuel for our emergency vehicles. And that's something we've been working on for the now and with anticipation, because please understand, we are in a region that has been impacted. We are in a region that they're finding rail lines to get supplies in, roads to get trucks in, trucks to get gas themselves, to deliver gas. All of these things is making things grind to a halt here. And in many ways, some resources are being diverted to other areas that are severely impacted, where emergency vehicles, as of last night, they were still doing rescues in counties around us, life-saving rescues off of that were directly storm-related. So we're prioritizing the most important gas, diesel fuel especially, is for our ambulances, for our emergency vehicles, and that's really what we're looking and making sure we're doing. And the good news is that we've secured sources of that for the now, and we're making sure we have a strategy to deal with that going into the future. But this is yet another reason for people to understand that they should be staying off the roads. I want to give you one more update in full information. The Newark Marine Terminal at the Port Authority is not working. This is one of the busiest ports in the United States of America, which also mean that goods and services are moving a lot slower into this region. And so that's why I don't want people going back to normalcy. I talked to PSE&G, and they wanted me to remind folks that just because you got lights on, don't turn them all on. Just because you have power, conserve it. Turn that power down, because there's a lot of strain on the few lines coming into our city. And people should expect some interruptions in service, some flashes of light and things like that. So when you get power back, don't get all upset if it goes down for a little bit or for an hour. But these are the kind of things I need my residents to understand, that there's no normalcy. Don't cook up unless you're doing it for your neighbors. Conserve food, conserve fuel, conserve water. We heard the governor yesterday speaking to the whole state that this is a time to conserve water. So we are operating in a time of crisis, and there should be a lot of prudence and austerity in our behavior in what we're doing. Okay? Yes. I told Sammy not to use his hairdryer because he often takes hours.
Oh, sorry.
Hours with that hairdryer.
Oh, cool. Well, I was just wondering, has FEMA made an appearance at all in Newark, or even Red Cross?
Oh my gosh.
And have you got?
Oh my gosh. Okay.
And do you have any problems with supplies? Emergency supplies of diapers, food, water.
So
whatever?
first of all, and I mean, it's not even needed. The brand itself probably speaks for itself. But our Red Cross partners are. I've now been in crises where we just had fires in buildings. The Red Cross is the first here. They are incredible partners right now. They're running around the clock in our command center, around the clock in our shelters, around the clock in the field, around the clock arranging supply lines. We in northern New Jersey have the benefit of some of the most experienced disaster preparedness folks that there are, and response folks that there are. So incredible partners. Please understand that FEMA also has been an extraordinarily good partner with us. Me and some council people and others, and this is LaTanya Richardson's team and others, were delivering food that was FEMA food yesterday because it's because of their help. This is something, a crisis that is unprecedented. And as a result of that, I've seen an unprecedented level of partnership and coordination between agencies. I'm the mayor of the 68th largest city in America, but yet I've heard from the president numerous times during this crisis. The president of the United States called PSE&G's head and talked to him about Newark, New Jersey. So you have to understand, everybody is focused on our city and making sure that we have the resources we need. Yesterday I talked to the HUD secretary in the evening. I have his cell phone, anything that I need. He was very concerned about our housing authority folks and helping us speed resources should we need them to make sure that our housing authority folks who are living in public housing have the resources that they need. So I've talked to leaders in the governor's cabinet, in the president's cabinet. I've talked to the executives themselves. So in many ways, this has been an unprecedented challenge for our city, but we've had unprecedented partnerships from other agencies, from the Port Authority to the Red Cross, and to obviously to places like FEMA. And I'll add some more to that. We've seen some corporations really step up. I don't want to do commercials for folks, but there are a lot of corporations right now who are as of today, LaTanya, who are, and we'll give you a list of those perhaps in maybe a concluding press conference in this crisis. But I've been blown away by their willingness to just put things on trucks and get them to the city, and we're going to be using them over the next 2 days, these resources from various corporations. In addition to that, our local small businesses in Newark have been stepping up to partner. I want to give a shout out to our local cab companies. Extraordinary what these local cab companies have done in terms of volunteering cab rides for people to shelters and the like. I don't want to jump out there too soon, but I've been talking to Newark's newest movie theater. I may have an announcement very soon about free movies, hopefully through this weekend. So I don't think I'm finding an individual in any agency that isn't rolling up their sleeves and either proactively going out there themselves or partnering with us in doing this unprecedented effort to serve a city in crisis. Yes.
Characterize a little bit Can you characterize a little bit your discussions with President Obama, and also how in touch have you been with Governor Christie, and what resources has he offered to the city of Newark?
So Governor Christie's easy. So he and I have a regular communication line of communication already. And the governor, obviously, and this is where my understanding and compassion for my neighbors around the state is. There are places, and I had a conversation on a South Ward Street last night with a large group of people to see their compassion. They were aware of what's going on in cities around us. We have cities that are devastated in New Jersey. We have cities that have been changed forever where people have lost homes, have lost property, have lost memories washed away, and photos, things that are irreplaceable. And so in that context, our state level officials have a lot on their hands. And so the governor has reached out to me. I've reached out to and his people have reached out to me. But we're only drawing down resources when we absolutely need them. And as I mentioned before, for police resources, the governor talked to me the night of the storm. The storm hadn't even passed yet, and was already thinking about law enforcement support and the like. We've been talking to various other agency heads about issues. So we've been getting the cooperation we need, and I have no complaints in terms of getting the resources we need from the state government of New Jersey. In terms of my conversations with the president, I tell you, I talked to the president at around midnight, 1 o'clock on the night of the storm, and I tell you, he was first very formal and checking in, almost as if he was going through a checklist of concerns, and then all of a sudden I was just talking to another guy who was passionately concerned about the city of Newark, and he knows Newark. He and I have had conversations since we met here in 2005. About this city. He has an intimate understanding of what's going on here. And so the fact that I got a chance to talk to the President of the United States, not only on that one occasion, but now on subsequent occasions, and the fact that he's been very proactive, not just in coming and visiting the southern counties that have been impacted, but having conversations with other people about us getting resources. When I talked to our great Secretary of HUD, he said, I just came out of the Situation Room. I'm calling you because the president was talking about these issues, and I wanted to make sure, he wanted to make sure I was on top of them. So again, Newark is very blessed when I can look my residents in the eye and said, the president was concerned about your well-being, and that is 100% true, that I'm not exaggerating. That goes a long way for helping people to understand. But let's not mince words. What folk want right now is power, and it's getting frustrating. And it's getting people getting angry, and people are getting are having painful disruptions to their lives. There's fear out there, and as much as words from all of us, the governor, the president, and myself, go a little bit, what people really want is a restoration of power and a restoration of normalcy. So we have work to do. We have a city to serve. And that's why I'm going to end this press conference so my people can get back to work. I want to give recognition, though, to another one of these council people, Congress people. I don't know where he is at this point in his evolution of his career. Man's got more titles than the Newark Public Library. But the president, congressman, councilman is here as well, and I'm in extraordinary leadership. And this is the thing that gets me about Don Payne and some of the other council people here. They have families too. They're out working around the clock. I've bumped into council people that have kids like Councilman Payne, and their families are incredibly understanding, and they're running around the clock when they're helping other people when their own families don't have power and need help themselves. And that's the caliber of leadership that this city has elected and that has been appointed. So I want to just extend my gratitude to all those people, and especially to people watching at home on Channel 78. It's still a time of crisis. There's still a lot of challenges, but we are a city that has faced an unprecedented, very strong storm. But we are a city that has an unprecedented strength. And we may have a lot of places in this city that don't have power, but we're showing through this storm that we are not powerless. Thank you.